What would be something to be so disruptive in the blockchain space that you would want to pioneer so we could take over the world, as you asked me earlier?
Oh, so disruptive. Oh my gosh, so disruptive. I feel like, yeah, no, fintech is my jam. Mining and fintech. Mining makes me incredibly happy in ways I can't describe. But if we could just solve fintech and have banks just not be as annoying as they are, I guess, like I want them to really think about think about the person who doesn't make that much money, who's sending money from point A to point B and really doesn't want to spend $60 or even $30 or even $25 in fees.
Emma, welcome to Off the Ledger. This is the newest and I guess the first show that I've started. So super excited to have you on the show. Really, we started it because all the conversations you and I have all the time, as well as so many other people. I figured it's best to try and bring this to a real show. So I'm excited to have you as the very first guest.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. And as you know, you're one of my favorite people. So when you asked, I could not say no. And I'm a little bit worried about what we might say because when you and I start talking, things start happening. But hey, let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, I understand you've recently been at the Satoshi Roundtable, and some fun things were happening there too. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll get married. I don't know.
So I had such a good time. I'm a little afraid to say what we did. I was just sharing that, I had a few drinks there and they were so great that I asked the bartender to marry me and he said yes, but give him a month or so because he had some things to clear up. So
Well,
yeah, but it was
well,
really good. It was actually the best conference I've ever been to, and I have my own conferences, so that coming from me carries a lot of weight. But it really was the best conference I've ever been to. It was just so well executed, and the people were great, and it was. I don't have a bad thing to say about it, like nothing.
I'd say
If you,
that's the purpose of blockchain. If there's
yeah,
a way to relate, and I've been to Satoshi Roundtable myself, and I say that the benefit of the entire blockchain industry is collaborative,
mhm,
and that conference I found to be collaborative, well, very well organized and
mhm,
planned and things, but the attendees, the people, the processes, and I'm
yeah.
not sure what this year was like, but that was my experience, my take on it, and probably very similar to the rest of the blockchain industry.
Yeah, I think I walked away thinking that if I only have a choice of one conference to go to for the year, that's it. And
Yeah.
I've been to Davos and I love Davos. Davos had me feeling restored and feeling better about like myself as a person. And this is better, hands down. My
Yeah.
friend actually said it to me, she said, which one would you have gone? I said, well, but definitely Satoshi was really good.
And Emma, for people who may watch the show, maybe you can give me a little bit of a background on you. You're involved with
Mm,
so many different things, from the blockchain consortium, which of course we participate together on, as well as so many other blockchain events and
mm.
conferences and shows and things like that. Your own conference as well, but maybe you can share a little bit more about sort of how you got into blockchain.
Okay, sure. So I come from banking. Yes, I come from the enemy. So I did banking for about 16 years and worked with a lot of the larger banks in North America. So Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, HSBC, and in Canada, RBC. And I had I was kind of bored, after a while, like you like what you do, but you think there's always something else that you could be doing. So I remember speaking to my friend Amber Scott and saying, I'd like to do something different, perhaps in fintech. And she said, well, what about Bitcoin? And I had no idea what she was talking about. This was 2016. And she and Michael Perklin were having a conference, the blockchain training conference. So they asked me if I would help them with the marketing and attend, and I said sure, and did very well. It sold out in 3 days, and I went to the conference and I was blown away. At the time, I was just so amazed by how articulate and how they got their points across. And looking back, I realized it was the best of the best that were at the conference. So they had Andres Antonopoulos speaking, Elise Killeen, obviously Michael spoke, Amber, and all these amazing people. And I was absolutely hooked. And I thought, I can't go back to banking. I absolutely have to do this full time. So I just dove right in. And my first gig at that conference, someone hired me to go to Vegas like the next month and help them with their conference. And then at the time, and I'm sure you remember 2016, everybody was more open because we're just looking for people to like collaborate and help us out. So it's really easy to get phone numbers and people, like, yeah, sure, text me, ask me any questions you want. So it was really great. Everyone was really collaborative there. Even into 2017, people still thought we were crazy. So, we were like collaborating and I wanted to sort of get the word out. So I started having events. And that's where I met you because someone said if you want to do something in Vancouver, you need to talk to Jason. I was like, okay, I'll talk to Jason. And then we just became good friends. And I really liked what I was doing. So I started my own company and it does strategy, marketing, PR, and events. And I made myself a promise when I left banking that I would only do things that made me happy. And as I started to learn about blockchain, it started to evolve. And I really liked, obviously, fintech because I'm really concerned about how much banks charge people to move their money. So that's a really big thing for me. Yeah. And then I also discovered mining. Oh, I love mining with everything in me.
And this is crypto mining.
Crypto mining, thank you. So it makes me very happy. So I wanted to find about crypto mining. And honestly, the stuff I do sometimes, I look back years later and think, what was I thinking? So I wanted to find about crypto mining. None of my friends could really explain it to me. So I was like, I'll have a conference. They'll come and explain it to me there. So I had a conference in New York City. All the top people came from Bitmain, like all the top mining companies explained it to me. And I fell in love with it and started just mining on my own. And then people started asking me questions like, do you know where we can get power? We're looking for mining equipment. I went, okay, let me see what I can do for you. And then that evolved into another business itself. So from there, I also, it involved, I have a subset of my company that deals with data systems and things like that. I'm on the board of tokens.com, which does staking. That's with Andrew Kegel. Yeah. I'm the head of iMining, which is the mining division, which is full-on mining, and I love that. And we just
where are you doing the mining? Where are you doing the mining? Out of curiosity,
New Brunswick, my friend. New Brunswick. We also have some others. I do some other places outside from that, but New Brunswick. We just closed the deal for 100 megawatts.
Wow, that's great. A lot of changes in that industry just for the crypto mining space, of course, with China and other markets and stuff like that. So
that's kind of why I look like this right now. We just had a meeting with China like about 3 hours ago. Everyone we didn't take it seriously. We really didn't. When the government said, you have to stop mining, we were all like, listen, we've heard this before. You're not fooling us. You said this in 2018. In fact, you said this in 2017 and you didn't do anything. So you know something? Okay. And then they were like, no, we're serious this time. And then they started, shutting down mining farms, and we were shocked. And then suddenly it was like, okay, we have to take this seriously. So like I had a partnership in China and with this Chinese company. And I remember saying to him before all this, okay, like, what's your plan of action? Like, where are we going? He's like, Emma, you're
not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. You're gonna be fine. I'm like, I really feel like we should be worried. He's like, no, don't be worried. And then I was like, are you worried now? He's like, a little. So, a lot of mining companies are leaving China, and they're looking for places to go. And as most people might not know, China had 70% of crypto mining compared to the world had 30%. In fact, I think Canada and the US combined had 11%. So all that mining capability is coming towards us. Some's going to Kazakhstan, of course, and then you have, like
I
Portugal
see.
and places like that.
Yeah.
But they're all coming to North America. So suddenly there's a massive scramble on trying to find power. So I've been fortunate enough to partner with this really great person, a great company that has power in New Brunswick, but we're kind of stretching our capacity right now. But it's been kind of crazy. So it was one of those. Okay, you have to shut everything down, and you need to get it out of China before they actually decide to start taking the equipment away.
Yeah.
So people are just there's a mad scramble on. But
And do you think, just from your opinion, and I know it's a little bit different from mining than say payments and stuff, but China's launched their sort of government issued crypto, which
yeah,
it seems to be getting a huge amount of audience and usability in China. Do you think it had to do with a little bit of not wanting the competition or the other products being used within China?
you are absolutely 100% right. You just asked me that. You just had the answer to the question. It took me 3 weeks to find out because I just couldn't understand what changed. And also just the mechanics of it, because it's in the middle of, we call it their wet season, their rainy season. So they use hydro, right? Hydro depends on water. It's their rainy season. It ends in October. So typically the government is like, this is when, hydro companies, mining companies are really kind of just going into full effect. Everything, the government gives you really, really great rates. So we just didn't understand why they were doing this. And then someone said, and I kind of had to delve deep. And someone said, listen, it's because of the CBDC, the central bank dollar
Yeah.
that they're coming out with. They don't want any competition, and so we think that's why they're shutting down the miners. They don't understand. They don't know enough to understand it's not really the same thing, but in their mind, it's the same thing. It's all a digital dollar. So they're like, we need to get rid of it. We need to get rid of Bitcoin or any other types of currencies that are being mined in China. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and I think you also see some news with regards to them, the government affecting things like Jack Ma with the payment system and stuff. So you have a market that's massive. The size of audience there is incredible, but digital payments there has been far further ahead than say even North America, really, right? So you look at WeChat and the mobile payments and Alipay and systems that have been around there for ages and ages, owned by and controlled by what we would say a private company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you're in a communist market controlled by the government. So the government says, hey, shut this down, or you no longer have the right to be the only person. So you now have to deal with us. The same thing with the mining space, I think, anyways. You have the mining space there was really supporting the world. It wasn't, it was very small numbers in China. It's still a big number in the mining space, but the amount of usability in China was small. So the mining was taking care of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And China says, hey, we don't want to do that now. So, or be recognized as it. So I think there's parts of that too. And of course you have some very, very big mining companies out there that in Canada and the US, and big public ones, as we know, and lots of things are going to change in the whole blockchain and crypto space. So it's great to see people like yourself really moving forward with supporting the industry as a whole.
Yeah. We had I was in Miami last week. They had mining disrupt, which is actually the largest, I think, mining conference in the world. I really do need to have another mining conference, but something, I'm just really having so much fun doing what I do. And let's face it, it's a lot of work throwing a conference, a lot of work. So it was kind of nice to just kind of go in. I went on stage, I spoke, and then got off the stage and then just went and like hung out with people and like, I didn't have to worry about anything. And that was really, really great. But just having people there talking about this and just, it was nice to kind of feel like, we were all in the trenches together. That was really good.
And tell me a little bit about some stuff that's not blockchain, because of course this is supposed to be a part of our conversations and what we normally do, but you're also an advisor for Girls in Tech and a few other kind of other entrepreneurial businesses and things too, right?
Yeah. Okay. I absolutely love that one. That is, I'm actually the chairperson for that. So how that one came about was I was actually asked to speak on the panel for women, like International Women's Day, at Parliament in Ottawa, Canada. And on that panel, talking to a bunch of ladies, and they were talking about the problems that women have when they are, in the workforce and things like that. Because for women in tech, they view it as more of a boys' club, and they feel a little bit uncomfortable. Now, when I got off the stage, someone said to me, how do you have so much passion, and how is like for what you do, and how is it that you don't feel intimidated? Because as we all know, like for better or for worse, blockchain is like 98% men. And I'm like, I really like what I do, and I don't let it intimidate me. And I realize not everybody has the kind of confidence that I do. So what can I do to help them out? Because if I really want to have more women in this space, it kind of starts with university, right? So what I found out was that women are actually dropping out at a pretty high rate in university. There are more, so it starts in the beginning, but there are more women than men in the classes. And then by the time it goes to graduation, it's more men than women, because women feel intimidated and they're not quite sure how to present themselves. So we try to give them the tools to sort of, kind of go out there and face working in tech companies head on. I do things like, when I'm speaking on panels, like I spoke on the panel last week, I post it, right? To me, it's just an average everyday thing, but for them, they're like, wow, you're the only woman on a panel of 5 men. I'm like, it is what it is, right? And when you look at oh gosh, okay, so red is normally my favorite color, and I should have worn red today, oversight on my part. But when you look at the panel of like all the speakers, I kid you not, there are about like 100 speakers. There are 3 women, and in the middle, you just see me in red, and I'm like,
Nice.
it's just like one of those things. And like, so I tell people, you can't really kind of you can't let it affect you. If you want to do something, you kind of just go out there and do it. And remember, even if you are not doing it well in your mind, at least it's better than 98% of the other people out there that aren't actually doing anything. So just kind of go out there and do it. It's okay to not be perfect. The most important thing is that you're actually doing something. So I try to encourage women where I can, and that's how that got started.
It's so funny because you say that there isn't that many women in the sort of technology space, and tech is probably so extreme. It's a huge market, right? And yet in the blockchain space, I mean, you happen to be the very first interview that I'm doing, which is a woman. The very second person I'm doing is a woman. And the leaders, the real interesting people that I see doing some great business, like really creative, innovative stuff in the blockchain space, are actually women that I know. Of course, when it comes to other technology and development and fundraising and different things within the space, there's a much broader spectrum of probably men in this space. But people like Melanie Moyer, who I'm going to be interviewing, I think, later this week. She's with Yay, developed some amazing affiliate systems that are all blockchain based. And of course, you mentioned some other ladies that are in the space, Amber, and you've got Olga in Switzerland. You've got some other people in the US that are really leaders, like really changed the blockchain space. So, it might be a show for yourself to be a new podcast, The Women in Blockchain.
Right? You laugh, but it's a pretty good idea. I need to find some time to sort of commit to that. But it's actually not a bad idea, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know
Um,
I think there is an association or something like that, a
there is.
group for women in blockchain. But I definitely think that without women in this space, we wouldn't have accomplished what some of us have accomplished for sure. I think
Mhm.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to me because when people say that they don't know any women in the space, I think I was part of a group where there were like 200 women in blockchain, and they were powerhouses, and they were just kind of going out there and getting things done. I'm like,
Yeah,
we know people everywhere, that can definitely help you in like all different areas, in like doing so many different things, and it's really, really great that way. At the same time, it's funny because I will say that being one of the few women in the space has actually benefited me because I stand out. So people are like, "Oh, that's Emma. We know Emma from Canada, right?" So, um, someone said something to me last week. They were like, "Oh, who did you come here with?" And I was like, "I came by myself." They were like, "That's really brave," and I'm like, I was thinking to myself, not really. There are always Canadians everywhere. Like I walk in and there's always a Canadian contingent, and they're always like, Emma. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm never
yeah.
alone. And so when I walk into this mining disrupt conference, I think I was walking there, and before I even got there, someone's like, "Hey Emma, how's it going?" And he walked with me in, and then like the first booth was Canadians, and it was just like it just kind of kept going, and I'm like, when you Canadians, they're yep, we're a nice bunch, and we're always everywhere.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
Dubai,
true.
you name it, everywhere.
So what do you see happening in the blockchain space?
Oh man. Okay, so Jason,
Give
okay.
me give me 6 months. Give me 6 months because as we
Thank
know,
you.
like 1 year is like a 10-year lifetime sentence, It's like what happens in a year is so much different than other markets. So
Yeah, like I'll never forget. So my friend Ann Connolly, she's a powerhouse too in blockchain. She and we have this thing where we meet every year for like a Christmas dinner, New Year thing, and we plot what we're going to be doing for the very next year. 2017, so easy. We're going to do this. 2018, a little harder, you know, but still things were looking good. We're like, we're going to do this. 2019, that was the middle of crypto winter. We're like, we have no clue. We have no clue at all. And then for 2020, we were just like, so you want to have a drink? Because it was the pandemic, right?
yeah.
So, I mean, I, I stopped trying to guess after 2018. What I do is, okay, my back of the napkin thing would be mining is going to continue to be a big thing. Right now, the dollar, like the Bitcoin seems to be on its way back up, but we don't know. We don't know if it's going to stay there. I don't even really check it that much anymore because
Yeah.
it's not good for you mentally. It's just, just hodl and there you go.
Yeah.
It's on sale, so buy it and leave it alone, and then come back and look at it in like a few months. But I truly don't know where it's going. It could keep going up. People did say that they thought it was going to go down to 25,000. It's not there yet. It never made it. I don't know. I literally have no clue. I do know, I do like that the industry is going from strength to strength. I do find some security in the fact that even we started out really strong at the beginning of the year, and banks started doing custody for various cryptocurrencies, and they're continuing to do that. The fact that even though the Bitcoin fell, the price of Bitcoin fell, and other cryptocurrencies fell, banks did not stop. They continue to say, "Let me see what I can do. Let me kind of get out there in the industry." And we're seeing that they're buying the majority of crypto. That makes me feel a little bit better,
Yeah.
a little bit more secure.
And do you think that regulations have much impact? It's regulation such a big question, right? But I mean, What do you feel about that?
My diplomatic answer is, and I do believe this because if I didn't, I'd just say pass. Um, Regulations are important, right? I mean, we've seen enough scammers and bad actors that you realize that regulations are definitely needed. The catch is that you don't want to necessarily go overboard, where regulations also impacts innovation. Because
Yeah.
what we see, and I actually didn't understand it, but I'm starting to understand it a little bit now, is that when regulations impact innovations, people aren't just like, okay, we're going to stop doing it. They're like, we're going to take our business elsewhere where we can do it. And so what we're finding is that Canada and North America, they get impacted, right? So you need to find a nice balance, one where where the regulators are really looking at the industry and making sure that they're doing the right thing, and they're not being overzealous, in their decision making. And what I like that what we're seeing right now in Canada, and it makes me a little bit happy, is that the regulators are saying, hey, tell us what you want, and we're going to see what we can do. Explain to us why you need X, Y, and Z so we understand it, and we'll see what we can do. And I like that. They're not just kind of coming out there and ham-handedly anymore, just saying we're doing this. Um, and I'm hoping that we're going to see some good results out of that.
That's great. I appreciate your opinion on there. I'm actually a firm believer in regulations in different ways. I do think that what's happened, where I've seen anyways globally, is that we have different regulators that are at different stages of their education of what blockchain is, what crypto is, what digital tokens mean, and those intersects are all different. It's all blockchain oriented, it's all associated, but an individual who's raising capital and issuing a token by raising that capital is pretty clearly regulated already. Like there's no answers, there's no questions around it. But if you look at what blockchain is, in my view, it really is a technology. It's innovation. It's why things like the big delivery systems that are out there are using blockchain as a record transaction systems where their products are, inventory, shipping registries, lots of government stuff, identification systems. These things are all like all software almost based, right? They're blockchain, they are distributed ledgers, they are records of systems. And I think that industry in itself has so many things to still work through. But when regulators step into they're overstepping their boundary, I think. So when it comes to transactional side of things, I think that there is definitely Canada, when 2014 came out and said, if you're providing a financial service using crypto, you should be reporting and properly registered as an MSB. It's been around for ages. It hasn't really changed. Of course, they're now recently, as of we know with Binance and some other things, they've said, hey, if you're a crypto exchange, you have to be registered as a broker. Well,
Yeah.
Or a securities dealer or whatnot. And I think that there's some areas that they're just saying, hey, we don't know how to control this, so we're trying to step in and put down a heavy foot. Globally, though, we see so many different things happening. And I think we're getting to the position FATF's rules and regulations came out and said, here's a guidance. Some markets, they really don't get it. They really don't understand. They just want to be the regulator and have some take responsibility or make sure people are taking responsibility, I guess.
Yeah.
But, we ourselves have seen tremendous growth. And I think the tremendous growth has been because people are comfortable. They feel confident with the crypto that's being used as a form of exchange of value. They're seeing blockchain companies and crypto companies that are taking more responsibility. They're doing proper KYC, they're doing AML and tracking, and there's systems that are out there that have been proven that people can count on today, and they're following the regulatory frameworks. There's still questionable people, and there's still bad actors and there's stuff. But I mean, look at the banking industry. There's lots of bad actors in the banking industry, right? So
I know.
I think I think that
Dirty Money on Netflix tells you a whole lot of stuff I didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And those things are happening all over the place. Credit card industry is ripe with fraud everywhere. There's lots of challenges in the stock market space. I think blockchain is in its such early stages, right? Still, and with leaders like yourself and so many other people that are in the space, I think we're all working together to get to that stage. And that's where I think some of the regulations personally are helping us give the right direction and keep the right people in the space to work together to accomplish the goal. So that's my opinion.
I don't want to say that I know everything that's going on with the regulators or regulations, which is why I have a really great compliance team that, you know, I hire them and they tell me what to do. You want me to hire somebody? Okay. Or when a company wants to work for me, let me go talk to them first and they can, like, you know, make sure everything's okay. But I am going to, I think one of the things that works for me and sometimes doesn't work for me, as well as it used to, is that I like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. So I'm not gonna go with, I think that the regulators these days, the ones I've interacted with, they're really trying to do the right thing. Every day is a learning experience for me. And I feel like if I feel like this, they must be like, okay, we have to try and regulate the entire space. So they must be probably a little bit more like, wow, there's a lot to handle. So I try to be a little bit more understanding of what they're going through.
Going back to the entrepreneurial space, if someone was going to start in the blockchain space today, what would your and I'm sure you're asked this all the time, as you did when you were first starting, where would they start today? Where would you point somebody who wants to get started today?
Okay, wow. I tell them, if you want to get started, well, it depends. Like, if you want to find out more about Bitcoin, more about blockchain, you got to go on Twitter. Twitter is amazing. It tells you everything. And then, yes, it also helps if you follow Emma Todd. I'm Crypto Emma T. Yes.
There we go.
There you go, right? And also you need to follow Jason. But like, honestly, everybody is on Twitter and you get some really great content. And I find that it is really, really important. I find the bad things happen when I'm not on Twitter. You know, sometimes I'll be like, okay, it's a long weekend. I'm not going to go on Twitter. I'm just going to enjoy it with the family. No, something happens, you know? I remember we said, it just seems so basic. 6-7 months ago, probably 8. Oh, look, we're looking on the blockchain and someone just moved $997 million. That's a lot of money. Okay. And you kind of go back to your business. And then Tuesday, the person liquidated it. And we're like, oh no. And Bitcoin took a tumble. And we're like, that's how we know. Now we know. But I remember we're like, wow, that's a lot of money to move, right? Like, that's a lot of Bitcoin to move, right? Because you can just see going from one wallet to another. And then Tuesday, we're like, everyone's like, Bitcoin's in free fall. What happened? And I was like, well, Thursday or Friday night. Everybody was like, wow, you didn't think to share it with us? I'm like, it was right there for y'all to see. Like, right. You know, but so and now really, we try to.
What would have they done anyway?
What could you have done, right? What could you have done? So now, you know, with more experience, you're sort of now piecing together the puzzle. Like when you see a lot of money suddenly being moved, or that sooner or later, because it's being moved, someone's going to try and cash out some of it, right? Money, some coins being moved. And, you know, whenever there's a problem, you know, Twitter knows before anybody else. So when you hear, you know, this is hacked, you're like, it's on Twitter, but is it on mainstream news? No, it's not going to be on mainstream news because mainstream news is getting its news from Twitter. So if you see a lot of people just retweeting it, like, do your due diligence, but keep going. Like, this is going to be a problem. You need to probably get in front of it, right?
Yeah.
So Twitter really is your best.
My comments on it is do that for sure, but also take it as an understanding that it may not always be true what happens on Twitter as well, right? I mean, as you know, it's
Are you
stuff that
saying
is not
the internet can be wrong?
yes. Yes, take it that it's information, but you may want to do your own research,
Yeah,
right? You
always
go,
do
oh,
your
this is
own
what's
research.
happening. Is it? I don't know. So
It's true. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I automatically assume people do what they don't. Always verify everything. If you tell me it's green on Twitter, I might just do a little Google search just to make sure that you're right. Because I mean, we've all been burned by, we believe this was true, and then you realized it wasn't. So now before I retweet stuff, I really do try to make sure that it is absolutely true.
right.
And you kind of learn from that. The one thing that kills me, and I just don't know how people do this. I'm going to share this is my complaining of the week, Jason. I'm a busy person as you are too. How are all these people just sitting there just doing stuff on Twitter? I'm like, don't you all have like regular jobs? I don't have time to be tweeting 6, 7,
I
8
know.
times a day.
Yeah.
Is this? I'm like, how do they find the time? Like, I am legitimately busy. I have I sleep maybe 4 or 5 hours a night. I don't have time to be on Twitter all the time. Like
Yeah.
I'm reading, but I'm not like necessarily actively like retweeting or tweeting, but I am reading. But there are people who just seem to spend their entire life on Twitter, and I just don't know how to do it.
I don't understand. And if you're like me, probably you have Telegram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Signal, WhatsApp messages from everybody going all day long.
You do.
It's so difficult. It's so
It
difficult.
really, really is. I used to have a system, and then it got a little bit messed up last week. But you wake up in the morning, you try to read all the different like groups,
Yeah.
and then you're like, and then you get all fired up, and then you kind of go, you start working, and then yeah, I used to get really
Later on,
fired
you
up.
check it again.
Where I'm like, oh, what is going on with these people? I do not have time for this. Like, I think I lost my mind when my little gripe of the week, and I'll say it here and I'll say it again. Jamaica, CBDC is not on blockchain. What's the point?
What's the point?
What's the point?
What are they doing?
Save your money, folks. Just don't even do it. It's they're using a system because it's compatible with their existing system that the government has.
But that doesn't make it. What is it? What is it then? It's not a CBDC then.
Why bother? Why bother? Just take the money and go fix roads, like put it towards education, help the people out who don't have jobs. At this point, don't bother with your CBDC. It's a waste of your money. Like you're already 10 years behind everybody else. Using technology that is compatible with your 10-year-old technology is not good for anyone. Yeah, that's my
We're going to
little
start issuing
rant.
ivermectin though, right? So so maybe they'll save money on ivermectin and they can go and develop their own CBDC.
Right?
I was surprised they didn't do something with Bit. The whole Caribbean guys seem to be doing their sort of central currencies and stuff off of the Bits platform.
And Bit was like the first one, right? So I don't know, like I ranted for a bit. There's a group that we're in, I ranted, and I literally was like, I do not have time for this. This is like, listen, sometimes you just want to say, listen, I have the knowledge, I have the know-how, I have the experience. The person at Bit, we know who he is. He has the knowledge, the know-how, the experience. He's been talking to them since 2015. Like, we know our things. Just do a quick Google search. You'll see every other bank in the world is doing something that's blockchain based. This is not the time for you to experiment. This is not the time for you to experiment. You don't know what you don't know, and it's a bad mistake. But hey, all I can do is say, I told you so, which I will.
That's a little bit more than a rant, Emma.
Sorry. I apologize. Not really.
But you know what? I appreciate since you are Jamaican and you were just there and spent as much time as you did. I appreciate your emotion on it and your passion.
I do love that. Yeah, I do love that country. Like, I'm pretty lucky. I love Jamaica. I love Canada. When it gets too cold in one country, you can go to Jamaica. Jamaica got a little hot there, so I came back a few weeks ago. I was like, I
And
Yeah, but
as an entrepreneur, would you want to start a business in Canada or Jamaica?
oh, check you out. Listen, I don't have to choose. I can do both.
Yes, you're lucky for that too. You're lucky. Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. I was Jamaica, I was doing it, except that it's not as easy as I thought. They need the one thing they were asking for is the one thing I didn't have, and I need to get that. It's like a government compliance certificate, and I need
Okay.
to like
Like a tax ID, right?
no, not tax ID. It's like it's a weird one, like saying that you're up to date with all these different things, and I didn't have that. I'm just gonna hire someone to do it for me because I was like, I can do it, and I'm like, no, no, I can't. I have too many things going on. I can't do this. So I'm gonna hire someone, and then I'll be able to have a nice, viable Jamaican business.
Once you've done that, they'll probably be able to bring you into their little army.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, all
Yeah.
right. I just don't want to be. At that point, I don't just want to be a member of the army. I want to be ruling it. Right? I want to be like, that's how we're going. What we're gonna do, boys and girls.
Emma, another question I have for you is what I'm really interested in is you're in the mining space, but what would be something to be so disruptive in the blockchain space that you would want to pioneer so we could take over the world, as you asked me earlier?
Oh, so disruptive. Oh my gosh, so disruptive. I feel like, honestly, yeah, no, fintech is my jam. Mining and fintech. Mining makes me incredibly happy in ways I can't describe. But if we could just solve fintech and have banks just not be as annoying as they are, I guess, like I want them to really think about think about the person who doesn't make that much money, who's sending money from point A to point B and really doesn't want to spend $60 or even $30 or even $25 in fees. I think what gets me is when you send money from like one bank to another, your bank charges you to send the money, but do you know the other bank charges you money to receive it?
Or you do what I've had, and I'm 3 weeks later, and the money still hasn't been received by them, and the money still doesn't come back to me. And so I just changed it and ended up sending some crypto and I still don't have the money back. So essentially, I'm out double the money right now, and who knows when the funds come back to me because the banking system is so messed up. It's not getting better, and I think you're right. If there was an ability to change the mindset of banks and provide them with really stable platforms to enable them
Mhm.
to improve, I think that would be amazing. And I think we're getting there. I really do. There's a lot of changes and things happening, and even the major networks like Visa and MasterCard are now moving towards
Yeah.
this. So I think that it's happening. Of course, major institutional changes takes for years and years, and sometimes it doesn't even happen, right? So I would agree with you in a disruptive, innovative way. If we could provide that, I think it'd be fantastic for sure.
It really upsets me because when you think about how much, people who are just like hardworking people with like, a decent job and how much they spend trying to send money back home or all these other things or money to friends, and just like, what on earth? Like, and I think what really got me started was I realized that, the funds, like sometimes if you're doing a bank transfer in Canada, for example, it would be free. But like banks in the Caribbean are charging me so much money just to accept it. And I was just like, they're gouging people. They're a third world country and they're gouging people. And it really upsets me.
On the other side, I think is, we look at all these news and information about our industry, economies, growth and changes and stuff. And maybe it goes up 3, 4, 5%, and maybe people's salaries go up a few percent. But then you look at the transaction fees a merchant pays for accepting Visa or MasterCard or transactional fees, which are 3 to 5%. You know, there's such a huge fee just in you to make a payment to, say, a merchant to buy a product. And these innovations that were created a long time ago were supposed to make things more efficient, more effective, and yet the cost of them, the transactional fees are high. And I'd say even in the blockchain space, we're still dealing with a little bit of those challenges in certain ways too, at times, not always. But I think that those are areas that we can have dramatic improvements on for sure.
I think so. I think so. Nobody wants to deliberately give money when they don't have to, right? So
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. We could definitely see some change there. That'd be really good.
Yeah, for sure. So Emma, I honestly, I always find that I can talk to you for ages. I appreciate and love it when you do call me, because we have such great conversations and we keep going on and on. And the most interesting is, as much as you call me to learn or ask me questions, I always learn something from you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate having you as a friend and business confidence. So it's great to connect with you, and I really look forward to having more conversations and hearing from you again. So one last thing, I guess, if you can leave anybody with a last comment or suggestion or advice, it'd be great to hear from you on that.
If you have an idea and you are not sure whether or not to do it, and you're on the fence, do it. If it's not illegal, if you're not hurting anybody, go ahead and do it, because you're always going to wonder what if. Just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and do it. It's better to do it and have it be a success, or do it and learn from it. But if you don't do it, you're always going to wonder.
I love it. Thank you so much, Emma, and real pleasure to connect with you again today, and really appreciate everything you do in the blockchain space and outside of the blockchain space. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Jason. It's been great.
Thanks, Emma. All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining the Off the Ledger podcast today. Remember to listen to the newest podcast wherever you regularly listen to podcasts. Thank you very much. Have a great day.